Are you wishing that a golden opportunity would just magically show up, say, "Hi, I'm here. You're the lucky person I'm selecting today. Let's go be successful"? I'm sure that we've all found out that life just doesn't work that way, right? That opportunities just don't magically show up. It's up to us to go after them. So with all the chaos of life, how then do we seize opportunities? What tools must we equip ourselves with to have life work for us rather than against us? Well, in today's video, we'll be going over how we can turn the chaos of life into opportunities and what we can do to cultivate that winning feeling inside of us so that we can go out into the world with a positive mindset, accomplish our goals, and seize opportunities. We'll be utilizing the book Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz, covering chapters 13 and 14 in today's video. I've hand-selected one key quote that stood out to me the most in each chapter. Let's start with chapter 13. Here we go. Although we learn fast, we do not learn well under crisis conditions. Are you somebody who performs better under pressure? There's people who crumble under pressure, and then there's people who rise above pressure, who shine. The only difference between these people is how they learned to react to crisis situations. A crisis is a situation that can either make you or break you. If you react properly to the situation, a crisis can give you strength, power, wisdom that you don't normally possess. If you react improperly, a crisis can rob you of the skill, control, and ability that you ordinarily possess. There are 3 things we need to do in order to perform well in a crisis. 1, we need to learn and practice certain skills when not under pressure. 2, we need to learn how to react to crises with an aggressive, not a defensive attitude. And 3, we need to learn how to evaluate so-called crisis situations in their true perspective. In other words, not to react as if every small challenge is a matter of life or death. Let's now expand on these 3 things, starting with number 1. Practice without pressure. If a person who doesn't know how to swim is just tossed into deep water all of a sudden, for whatever reason, that person is going to figure out how to get to safety. They'll flail around in the water and figure it out. It's not going to be pretty, but they'll get to safety somehow, some way. Hopefully. In that high pressure moment, they will figure it out. But in that high pressure moment, they will never become a championship swimmer. They won't reflect back on that high pressure moment and say, "Oh, I think I did pretty good there. I think I'll try out for the next Olympics." The more intense the crisis situation is, the less you learn. So if you're expecting to learn how to be a phenomenal swimmer, you need to first put yourself in a non-pressure situation and practice consistently, persistently under low pressure conditions. Until you develop mastery, then bring on the pressure. Practice without pressure and you will learn more efficiently and be able to perform better in a crisis situation. The attitude of calmness and clear thinking will carry over from your practice sessions to your real life crisis situations. It's actually common practice for some athletes to practice in private with as little pressure as possible. The result is that they go into the crisis of actual competition without appearing to have any nerves at all. They become immune to pressure. Not worry at all on how they'll perform, but depend on muscle memory to execute the various motions that they have learned in their no pressure practice sessions. The same could be applied to sales. It's very common in sales to role play, to practice without pressure. For those who choose to bypass role playing and go straight into those high pressure moments, and then the prospect raises an objection, and because your nerves are racing and it's a high pressure moment, you can't think of the proper way of how to respond appropriately to that objection. But of course, later on, after that meeting, you can think of all sorts of ways of how you could have responded appropriately to that objection. And that's because now you're relaxed. So obviously, everything's going to start flowing to you because you're relaxed. So in sales, it's critically important to role play constantly. Practice walking into the meeting. Introduce yourself to the prospect. Make your sales pitch. And then imagine every objection possible and answer each objection out loud. If you do that consistently, persistently, then your next sales meeting with your future prospect is going to go so much smoother because you've already practiced everything. You've practiced the walk-in, you've practiced the introduction, you've practiced the sales pitch, you've practiced of how to respond to every single objection. But this time, you're actually doing it in front of somebody. It's no longer high pressure because you've already consistently, persistently practiced this when the pressure was low, when there was no one in front of you. Now let's expand on number 2. Crisis brings power. Have you ever noticed that whenever we face danger, then courage comes, strength comes. We find ourselves possessed by the power to endure. What this teaches us is that when great demands are put on us, as long as we fearlessly accept that challenge and confidently expend our strength, every danger or difficulty brings its own strength. This means maintaining an aggressive, goal-oriented attitude rather than a defensive, evasive, negative attitude. Saying to yourself, no matter what, I can handle it, rather than saying, I hope nothing happens. So always keep your own positive goal in mind. Go through the crisis situation to achieve your goal. You keep your original positive goal and avoid getting sidetracked or pushed into another one. Your attitude should be one of fight instead of one of fear or flight. If you can do this one thing, then every crisis situation acts as a stimulus that releases additional power to help you accomplish your goals. It is said that there's only one basic emotion, and that's excitement. And that excitement manifests itself into fear, anger, courage, so forth and so forth, manifesting itself into these different forms depending on our own inner goals at the time. Whether we want to conquer a problem, run away from a problem, or destroy a problem. If your intention or your attitude goal is to go forward, march forward, if it's to make the most out of every crisis situation and win out despite these situations, then the excitement of those occasions will reinforce this tendency. It will give you more courage and more strength to move forward. But if we lose sight of that original goal, we can start treading where we don't want to go. We could begin to feel fear, anxiety. And that's not where we want to go. So remember the next time that excitement boils up in you, that you identify as, say, nervousness. Maybe you're about to step out into a crowd of people and give a presentation and announcement. This feeling of nervousness is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of additional strength if you choose to use it. Stick with the intent, stick with the positive goal in mind that you're going to give a phenomenal presentation, a phenomenal announcement. One that will entertain, one that will move people emotionally. Stay positive in your thoughts and stay focused on the goal. And now let's expand on number 3. What is the worst that could possibly happen? Many times we have the tendency to let our imaginations go wild and see a crisis situation as something far greater than it really is. See it as far more dangerous and more challenging as it ever truly is. We use our imaginations in this way as a weapon against ourselves. This can be harmful because when we overestimate a crisis situation, then all of a sudden we have way too much excitement. Then that excess excitement remains in you, remains bottled up, and creates the jitters within inside you. An excessive amount of emotional excitement can harm rather than help performance. So the next time a crisis situation pops up for you, ask yourself, what is the worst that can possibly happen if I fail? Ask yourself this rather than responding automatically, blindly, and irrationally. Very few people realize the power in asking this question, in cultivating the right positive attitude. In sales, for example, it makes such a difference to switch from a scary, panicky attitude, everything depends on this. A proper attitude shift in sales, for example, can make such a huge difference in profit. Simply by changing from an attitude of everything depends on this to the attitude of I have everything to gain and nothing to lose. So the key to overcoming any crisis situation is you. Learn and practice these simple techniques to be able to rise above any crisis situation. Now let's dive into chapter 14. Here we go. Change your mental imagery and the feelings will take care of themselves. How do you get that winning feeling? You must think of the end result in terms of a present possibility. The possibility of the goal must be so crystal clear that it becomes real to your brain and your nervous system. So real, in fact, that the exact same feelings are evoked as would be present if the goal were already achieved. All of us do this every single day in the form of worry. Except with worry, we start believing and feeling that unfavorable results will occur. For some of us, we feel that worry is an okay, acceptable thing to do. But to think about big dreams and the possibility of those dreams coming true, that is looked upon as something you just don't do. Sometimes you're laughed at for the big goals and dreams you have set for yourself. For some reason, those big dreams aren't seen as acceptable, but yet worry is. Yet worry is holding us back and not expressing those big goals and dreams that we have set for ourselves, letting them hide away and tucked away. It's time to do far less worrying and a whole lot more dream building. Our brain and nervous system cannot tell the difference between a real experience and one that is vividly imagined. So if we dwell upon failure and continually picture failure in our mind with such vivid detail that it becomes real, then outwardly we will experience the feelings that go with failure. On the other hand, if we keep our positive goal in mind and picture it in our minds so vividly that it becomes real, and think of it in terms of an accomplished fact, then we will experience those winning feelings, self-confidence, courage, and faith that the outcome is possible. When you feel successful and confident, then you will act successfully and confidently. You set the thermometer inside you. Choose success, choose confidence, and outwardly, people will see you as successful, see you as confident. Capture those feelings and express them. It's all about recalling how you feel when you're at your best. Capture those feelings that you feel when you're at your best, and then express them out to the world so that everyone can see you at your best at all times. And if you're asking yourself, well, why do I want to be my best at all times? You should want to do your best at all times, be at your best at all times, because you never know when an opportunity will be in front of you. And when an opportunity is in front of you, you want to be able to seize that opportunity. And you'll only be able to seize that opportunity if you're at your best, if other people see you at your best. Not only that, people deserve your best, because if they can see that you're at your best, then that will inspire them to want to become better. And if everyone is starting to become better, focusing on becoming better, then the world will be a far better place. Everyone has been successful at some point in their life. No matter how big or small that success was, go back and recall those successes that you had, no matter how big or small they were, and remember how you felt in those moments. Then bring those feelings, those winning feelings, to the present moment and just pour it out. Express it out. What you succeeded in the past is not as important as what you felt in that present moment when you did succeed, because this adds fuel to the fire in achieving the goals that you have set for yourself right now in the present. If you're someone who worries a lot, practice gradually eliminating and replacing worry with positive, more fruitful, imaginative thoughts. As soon as that worry pops up, that negative storyline that has been created in your mind pops up, immediately start replacing that negative storyline with a positive storyline. So start getting in the habit of pattern interrupting those moments of negative storytelling with positive storytelling. And you'll start seeing a positive difference in your life. Old habitual patterns can be replaced, can be changed. It's just going to take a whole lot of self-awareness, paying attention to when those old habitual habits pop up, the ones you want to replace, and then intentionally interrupt them and replace them. Over time, the replacement will become permanent. But it's going to take practice. It's going to take time to get there gradually. But you can absolutely do it. I hope it's been helpful. It's been a lot of fun. I've covered other previous chapters of Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz in other previous videos. So if you haven't checked those out, definitely check those out, and I'll see you in the next video.